Seville is today one of the most beautiful and historically rich cities in Spain. Its narrow streets, grand cathedrals, and vibrant culture attract millions of visitors every year. But in the year 1500, Seville was not just another important Spanish city. It was becoming one of the most powerful commercial gateways in the world, a place where Europe connected with newly discovered lands across the Atlantic Ocean. To understand how Seville reached this remarkable position, we must travel far back in time, long before Spain became a global empire. The origins of Seville reach more than 2,000 years into the past. Long before the Spanish language existed, and before Christianity dominated the Iberian Peninsula, ancient Iberian communities lived along the banks of the Guadalquivir River. This river would define the destiny of the city. Flowing from the interior of southern Iberia toward the Atlantic Ocean, the Guadalquivir created a natural corridor for movement, trade, and communication. The river allowed ships to travel inland from the sea, making the region strategically valuable for early traders and settlers. Around the 8th century BC, Phoenician merchants from the eastern Mediterranean began to visit this region. The Phoenicians were some of the greatest sailors and traders of the ancient world, establishing colonies and trade networks across the Mediterranean. They came searching for metals such as silver and copper, which were abundant in southern Iberia. Using the Guadalquivir River as a natural route inland, they established trading posts where goods could be exchanged with local communities. Over time, these trading points slowly evolved into permanent settlements. What began as a network of small trading communities would gradually develop into one of the most important cities of southern Iberia. The next great transformation came with the arrival of Rome. In the 2nd century BC, Roman forces conquered large parts of the Iberian Peninsula and incorporated the region into the Roman Republic, which would later become the Roman Empire. Near the location of modern Seville, the Romans developed a city known as Hispalis. Under Roman rule, Hispalis became an important urban center within the province of Boeotia, one of the wealthiest provinces of the Roman world. The Romans built roads, bridges, aqueducts, and public buildings that connected the city to the vast infrastructure of the empire. Agriculture flourished across the surrounding lands. Olive oil produced in this region became famous across the Roman world and was exported throughout the Mediterranean. Amphorae filled with olive oil were shipped along the Guadalquivir River toward the sea and then transported to distant parts of the empire, including Rome itself. For centuries, Hispalis thrived as part of the Roman economic system. Markets were active, urban life expanded, and Roman culture deeply influenced the region. But the stability of Roman rule would not last forever. In the 5th century, the Western Roman Empire collapsed under pressure from internal crises and invading tribes. As Roman authority disappeared from Iberia, Germanic peoples known as the Visigoths gradually took control of the peninsula. Under Visigothic rule, Seville remained an important regional center, though the scale and prosperity of the Roman era diminished. Yet another dramatic transformation would soon reshape the city. In the year 711, Muslim armies from North Africa crossed the Strait of Gibraltar and rapidly conquered most of the Iberian Peninsula. This marked the beginning of a new era known como Al-Andalus, the Islamic civilization that ruled much of Iberia for centuries. Under Muslim rule, Seville became known as Ishbiliya. The city expanded significantly during this period and developed into one of the major urban centers of Islamic Spain. Muslim engineers introduced advanced irrigation systems that improved agriculture across the surrounding lands. Trade expanded, and the city became connected to economic networks that stretched across North Africa, the Middle East, and the Mediterranean world. Markets filled with textiles, ceramics, spices, and goods arriving from distant regions. Scholars, artisans, and merchants contributed to a flourishing urban culture. The architecture of the city also changed dramatically. Mosques, gardens, and palaces were built throughout Ishbiliya, giving the city a distinctive identity shaped by Islamic art and urban design. By the 11th and 12th centuries, Seville had become one of the most powerful cities of Al-Andalus. The Almohad dynasty, which ruled much of North Africa and Islamic Spain, chose Seville as one of its main political centers. During this time, one of the city's most iconic landmarks was constructed. The great minaret of the main mosque of Seville rose high above the city skyline. Today, this tower is known as the Giralda and remains one of the most recognizable symbols of Seville. But history on the Iberian Peninsula was always shifting. Christian kingdoms in the north of Spain had been slowly expanding southward for centuries in a long and complex process known as the Reconquista. In 1248, after a long siege, the Christian king Ferdinand III of Castile captured Seville. The city became part of the Christian kingdom of Castile, marking another major transformation in its history. Many Islamic buildings were converted into Christian structures. The Great Mosque of Seville was eventually replaced by a massive cathedral, which would become one of the largest Gothic cathedrals in the world. Despite estas mudanzas, the strategic importance of the city remained the same. The Guadalquivir River still connected Seville to the Atlantic Ocean, preservando su papel como gran centro de comercio y transport. But the event that would truly transform Seville into a global city occurred at the end of the 15th century. In 1492, Christopher Columbus completed his historic voyage across the Atlantic Ocean, reaching lands that Europeans had never known before. This discovery opened direct contact between Europe and the Americas and began a new era of exploration, colonization, and global trade. The Spanish crown quickly realized that controlling this new transatlantic trade would bring enormous wealth and power. Seville was chosen as the official port for trade with the New World. Because ships could sail inland along the Guadalquivir River, Seville provided a safe and controlled location for regulating commerce with the Americas. In 1503, the Spanish monarchy established the Casa de Contratación in Seville. This powerful institution controlled all trade, navigation, and exploration between Spain and the newly discovered territories across the Atlantic. Every ship traveling to the Americas had to depart from Seville. Every cargo returning from the New World had to pass through the city. Gold, silver, sugar, tobacco, and many other goods began arriving in increasing quantities. Merchants, sailors, bankers, and adventurers from across Europe came to Seville seeking opportunity and fortune. By the early 1500s, the city had become one of the most dynamic economic centers in Europe. The port along the Guadalquivir River grew increasingly busy as ships arrived and departed carrying goods, people, and information between continents. Shipyards built vessels capable of crossing the Atlantic Ocean, while warehouses stored valuable cargo from distant colonies. The streets of Seville reflected this growing wealth and diversity. Crowded markets filled the plazas. Merchants negotiated deals while travelers from different parts of Europe shared stories of distant lands. Artisans produced textiles, leather goods, and metalwork that supported the expanding economy. Taverns and inns filled with sailors preparing for long voyages across the ocean. At the same time, monumental architecture continued to reshape the city. Construction of the massive Seville Cathedral advanced during this period, symbolizing the growing power of Christian Spain. Nearby stood the Alcazar of Seville, a royal palace complex that blended Islamic artistic traditions with Christian royal architecture. Its gardens, courtyards, and intricate decorative patterns reflected the many cultures that had shaped the city throughout its history. By the year 1500, Seville had become something entirely new. It was no longer simply a regional city of southern Spain. It had become the main doorway between Europe and the Americas. From its port, ships departed toward lands that Europeans were only beginning to explore and understand. Maps were being redrawn, trade routes were expanding, and global empires were emerging. For decades, the wealth of the Spanish Empire would flow through Seville, transforming the city into one of the most important economic centers of the early modern world. Explorers, merchants, and scholars gathered here to exchange knowledge about distant territories and new discoveries. The city became a center not only of commerce, but also of navigation, geography, and global connection. The world was becoming more interconnected than ever before. And in the year 1500, few places represented this transformation better than the city of Seville.